Today on Archon's Corner, we talk about why you suck at KeyForge, the fire sale event, plus a new AC event coming up, and a bucket of spoilers.
Feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now.
If you like the show, consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/Archon's Corner. For as little as $1 a month, you can help our dreams of keeping KeyForge alive. Also, don't forget, you can get your Archon's Corner merch at Spreadshirt.com.
Sit around and wait for you. Well, I can't do that. There's no turning back. I need time.
All right, what's going on, everybody? I am the one, the only, the WOOKIE, joined here by the normal posse. We got Drazcore.
Oh, guys.
We got Ewok.
Hello, KeyForge community.
We got Z.
I thought you were going to skip me again. Yep,
Oh.
that's me.
No, I would never skip you, Z. You hold a special place in my heart. You were my first love.
These are lies.
Oh, yeah, they are. And we got Dr. Sheep.
Yay.
Yay for sheep. All right, we got so much to go over. We're going to just jump right into it today. We got our first Why I Suck at KeyForge, boys.
No, this is why you suck at KeyForge.
This isn't me. I didn't put this in.
Well, that's no fun.
This is, I mean, he did put his name in there, or he or she, I suppose. It's M. Flava sent this in via email. So thank you to M. Flava for sending it in. He says, I may suck for more reasons than just this, but the Fire Sale Tourney has shown me I can't pick a deck that's good for the meta for show. Check my record for verification. Good lesson for me, though.
Well, I'm going to join him because I have won one of my 3 matches.
You just got to be like me and not actually pick a deck and just have Z spin the wheel for you. Or hashtag draw better.
I was like 9th pick. I had good choices.
You did.
And my deck just can't keep up with the high pace shenanigans.
Z, what was his record?
Overall record right now, I don't know if he has any more games to play. I don't think he does. Oh, he probably does. He has to have more. His overall record is 0 for 11. 0-5 in practice, pre-game, pre-event, and so far 0-6 in the round robin with 0-3 matches. So it's very hard to get lower than that. And he had pick in the draft.
Woo!
So there were definitely choices.
It's the when you're playing against all decks that are this hot, it's crazy. Although I get to play Lokakar next, and apparently his deck is not doing very hot either.
I am 3-1, 4-1. I've lost 1. I don't remember how many weeks we've been going around, but I got to play the top seed in our class this week, so I'm not looking forward to that. So I'm going to end up 2-2 with a pretty poor deck. So get good, sheep.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. Fire sale event, because we got so much to go over. We're going to go over this really quickly. Fire sale event. Z, talk to us about the fire sale event.
All right, the fire sale event is getting close to wrapping up. We are in its final week. So I'm going to do a full kind of recap episode, talk about data. It'll be its own thing coming up, so look for that. It'll be its own release. But I wanted to highlight some people before it's all finalized. In Group A, we have Magnum Miles at 4-0. So we've locked, obviously, to advance. This is breaking news just in. I didn't even know this prior to like 10 minutes ago. Group B is locked and finalized. The 2 people advancing are Throat Wolf and Z Awesome, which is my son. Literally just found out 10 minutes ago while we're prepping for the cast. So that's super exciting. That group actually had 3 people that locked in at 3-1. So they made a triangle of who beat who. So went all the way to net points, which is Keys Forged. So the top 2, Throat Wolf and Zawsome, have 7 net points. And Red Train, very common, local to AC, plays in lots of our events, got edged out by 1 net point at 6 net points. So that's a rough break. But yeah, 3 people in that bucket were 3-1. So that is some pretty top competition there. Going to Group C, we have Philly number 1 at the top spot at 3-0. That does lock him in for a slot. Group D, another AC regular, is Hiram Graph. 4-0. Perfect 4-0. That is beautiful to see. Group E is all locked up. We have second act advancing at 4-0 with the 39th picked draft in the event. X-Ray Creator with the first in the entire event is 3-1. So in the same bucket, we had the number 1 drafted deck who went 3-1 and the 39th picked deck who went 4-0. So I think that speaks quite a bit for as far as like what pick you got in the draft, as far as you're likely to succeed. There was just a lot to pick from, even in the late stages.
Hey, Z, what was the name of that 39th deck? Maybe just we'll come back to it, but what was the name of it?
The name of the 39th deck was Miss Gazatom, the High Strung Sculptor.
Oh, was that it? Okay, I thought it was a different deck.
Okay.
All right. Keep going.
It's real close to the other one at 38.
All right.
But yeah, I'll give.
All right.
I got you coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Group F, there are 2 people that are 3-1 and 1 at 2-2. It doesn't look like it's locked up at the moment, but the 2 people 3-1 are advancing for sure. Challenge is just to do the math in advance before the match-ins. So Gorlami and D-House will both advance. Group G is Boston Beavers going to advance at a solid 3-0. Although there are 2-2-1s, so I guess there could be some kind of triangle action going on there. But I think it's pretty set to be him. Group H is the final group. It is also finished. Frozen Tauntaun is advancing at 4-0, and Ocean Archon beats is 2-2 along with Creative Chaos, but Ocean Archon had beat Creative, so Oceanside Archon advances as well, along with Frozen Tauntaun, who's a Houston local. So good job for Frozen Tauntaun. In this last grouping, Group H, is our buddy here, Drazcor. And I think he wants to share something about not only his experience in going to the last of his bucket, why he may suck at KeyForge.
Yes. So, I have a very similar story to our listener who wrote in about deck selection. Now, I think I selected relatively late. Now I'm trying to remember what I was. I was
31st.
Okay. And but there were plenty of good decks left, and I was hemming and hawing as to which one I should pick. Now, at the time I was on vacation, and so I couldn't, and I didn't have very good internet, so I couldn't really like practice any of the decks. But still in the pool was my own personal deck, a deck that I own and open from the fire cell. And I was like, well, maybe I should pick that deck. It's my own deck, so on and so forth. But then I was scrolling through the decks and whatnot, and I think I did what I sometimes do. I see, I was going to say janky combos. It's not that janky. These are all strong decks. But I see like a fun, cool combo. I was like, ooh, I could try to make that happen. That seems like a lot of fun. And so I picked that deck, and it didn't go great. I came in the last position. I picked a deck with very low C, and the only clear was an Axiom, but the number of decks, which I could have looked to see what was already picked with Saurian, was very high. So my Axiom was close to useless in a number of games, and I just couldn't get rid of those Saurian boards, and so I made a pretty bad meta pick, and I was kicking myself on the pick because my own deck, Philly No One. See, what is Philly No One's record right now?
Oh, let's see. I want to be clear that people understand that it was picked 7 picks later.
Yes,
at pick 38.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Alnek of the Critics Bridge, and Philly No One is currently 3-0 and guaranteed to advance into the top 16.
I was chatting with him. He was like, "Oh, this is your deck." I was like, "Yes," and then he keeps winning. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I kept losing. But great job, Philly, and you now join the list of players who have played Owlneck far better than I have. So congratulations, Philly, on doing well with Owlneck, and I hope you take the whole thing down and I get back in it with Alnek.
So what I saw here, which was interesting, was Alnek also has a C of 8. So that hurts a little bit more, Draz, when I'm looking at it. But it does have a gateway, which is a much better clear versus your Axiom. So all of that fits in, and it's great to see kind of how these decks are shaping up.
I mean, if we want to rub this in a little bit more, I played Alnek when you unlocked it, like when you shared it in the chat, and I had a pretty good record with it. Like, I liked it quite a bit. So, I don't know.
I don't know if I want to say my record with the deck on the air because it's pretty bad. It's 6-12, Z.
Oh,
That's what I am in competitive with Alnek. I have not played Alnek well. That other weird deck that you're like, I don't really like this. I've played way better with that other one with the low A, whose name I can't remember right now. But
maybe you're just so in tune with the draw better concept.
Maybe
you just need a janky deck so that you can draw better to win.
I think so. Like that weird janky no A deck, I've got, I don't know, 60-some%, close to 70% win rate with.
Nice. All right, that wraps up that part. So
let's get into the new event that we had posted. Patrons got first dibs at this event, as patrons always do for ours. So check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/Archons Corner. Z, tell us about the new event that's going to pop off after the fire sale.
All right. So we're going to post registration for this today. I'll put it here in the Discord. I'm sure Wookie will put it somewhere on the Facebooks or the Twitters or whatever all this other stuff is that I don't know anything about. It is called Reaper of Archon's Corner. Has an entry fee of $10. It's going to be 64 players. Let's just get to the variant because actually before we do that. The variant, it is a 64 shared SAS climb. So let's talk about what that's going to mean. Each round, starting with a SAS cap of 64, each player will choose a deck from a shared pool of decks to compete. And then each round, the SAS cap will increase by 5. This shared pool is kind of a way to make there like an equitable approach because there are some people that didn't want to play Sealed. There's some people wanted to play Archon, but didn't want just the best decks in the world to come in and smash them. So I figured out this is a way to kind of even the field because everyone's going to have the same pool. Where do you think we got this pool of cards, Wookie?
I don't know. Where do we get Dan's Shredder bin?
Well, I thought about it. We're playing this event through Archon's Corner.
Yeah.
We are representatives, so we all have decks.
Oh, so you took all of our decks and then kind of like found out 64, found the pool there?
Well, they'll have to...
It's just all of our decks.
It's just all of our decks. So we have a neat little hyperlink for that. So all of our decks are from all 5 of us here. You can sift through them and pick any one of them. That way we don't have to worry about deck checking or like worried about sealed pips and all of that craziness. If it is in that bit.ly that we're sharing, you can pick any of those decks. So at 64 SAS or below would be round 1, and then 69 or below, round 2, etc., 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 all the way up to 99, because I think there is at least one 99 that you could pick from in the pool.
It's not mine.
So that's no comment about whose it is. So that kind of gives us
oh, sorry. Got something in my throat.
A progression experience. So let's get back to the regular details. The date is the 24th of September at 10 a.m. We had a very small window as far as what that looks like. So there weren't many days that we could do this because we wanted it to be before the Gamefound, because we're going to talk about it on the pricing. It's going to be all in one day. The tournament structure is double elimination with best of 1 matches. Each round will be 35 minutes. With double elim, we're looking at 6 to 9 rounds, depending on attendance, with pretty much the expectation that the later rounds will probably go much faster. That's generally how double elimination goes. Let's talk about prizes. Let's see. I think JR was pretty excited about this as a prize idea. JR, what do you talk about the number 1 prize if you are first overall?
If you are first place overall, you earn $150 Reaper of Aember pledge from the KeyForge Gamefound campaign. That is absolutely amazing. Like, we're going to pay for you to go ahead and take everything from the pledge. And right now that continues to increase dramatically. But I mean, if you have not seen Gamefound campaign, please, please, please go check it out. We'll talk later on that. but the Reaper of Aember it's just such a really cool set. Should we go into like what it actually entails, or just go check it out?
Just want to be clear, this is going to be a pledge that we're going to add on to one of our pledges, so it isn't going to come with all of the extra bonus stuff.
Yeah,
because you only get that once per pledge.
But go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. What we could do, I don't believe the Archons Corner at gmail.com has pledged.
Kind of talked about this in the chat. I in no way wanted to intentionally deceive GG. You have multiple people in your house that might not be pledging right now. I don't. So if we can find a way for another person with a name that is not already pledging, that is something that we can do. As of right now, we're not guaranteeing. But if that happens and it ends up being extra, then that would be a great bonus. But we can't guarantee it at the moment.
Maybe I can shoot an email to Sir Peterson and see what his ideas are. Ewok, what you got?
So the main piece that I want to get at is we're going to be paying that $150, and whoever walks away as the winner, they're going to get their 2 Winds of Exchange mat. They're going to go ahead and get 12 Winds of Exchange decks and the named deck and mat that goes with it. And so you will get a chance to pick what you want with, here's the key. So Z, what is going to go on there? Because we have a special name for this event, and that's why we can make sure that it gets in before the campaign finishes.
Yes, exactly. Because this is going to be the Reapers of Archon's Corner. So you are going to be the 2022 Archon's Corner champion. We're going to work with the winner for the exact finalized name. But right now, our working title will be something to do with AC Champion, and then there's characters left that our winner can play with. Or it could say Archon's Corner Champ, and then have very few characters to work with. But it will have AC or Archon's Corner in the title, and where we will work with the winner to find something cool that symbolizes like what they did in this event on that day. Because they're being part of the campaign, they're joining a fun event to, support the game. The whole point of this campaign is to find a fun way to get more money into the Gamefound to support the game that we all love, and do it in a fun way that is executed in a very short timetable. Since we had just learned about it, we just thought about it. I got some feedback from our AC community. We had enough interest to give it a shot. So that's what we're going to do. And someone will walk away with a piece of KeyForge / Archon's Corner history that they'll just get to hold on to. And, knowing all of the luck on our show, the deck you get from this is probably going to be better than all of ours.
112
and then you're going to come back and win our Archon's Corner custom deck event, which we've already said we're going to have in the future. And how cool will it be to win the Archon's Corner custom deck event with the Archon's Corner champion custom deck?
Mm-hmm.
It's like winning the Super Bowl in your home stadium.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That would be a thing. And today I did learn that Dr. Sheep, in his Martian generosity, is going to add a Fuzzy Gruen to the prize pool. So second place will be vying for that Fuzzy Gruen. I think I covered all of the grinding details. There's some other stuff in here that we've already talked about. Just for clarification, we expect around 20 participants, and that's mainly to cover the pledge and the multiple shipping, because we have to pay for it to get shipped to us, and then we'll ship it to you. If it is a non-United States winner, they're welcome to attend, but they will need to pay for any shipping and costs above and beyond what it would cost to ship to a U.S. winner. And for each 10 participants over the 20, we will add additional prizing. Most likely the first place prize won't change, but we will then be able to prize out third, fourth, etc. And we will talk about what that prizing will look like as people register more than 20 or more. Once we hit 30, we'll let people know. Any questions from the peanut gallery here about the event?
Get extra money, or are we just going to put more money into the pledge and do add-on stuffs as prizes? I think that's what we'll be doing.
Yeah, that's the goal. Anything, like, as those increments occur, we're just going to increase that prize pool as add-ons, which most likely it'll be decks. I mean, there's that. We literally spent a whole cast talking about the Seeker of decks. Like, that is the pledge we would be aiming to add on.
Well, even their new $17 decks, which we'll cover later, would be cool.
Yes, we will.
So look for it on the 24th at 10 a.m. Central Time. That's when the actual event will happen, but look for it in Discord right away to sign up.
Yes. All right. Thank you for joining us this week. You can catch us next week if you're not interested in spoilers, because that's what we're about to go into, and there are a lot of spicy ones. So for those that are sticking around, Here we go.
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep, the
All right,
Berserker token.
Let's start again. So Brick Nasty is the is the card we're going over right now. He is a 5-power Brobnar card. After another friendly Brobnar creature fights, gain 1 Aember. I dig him, especially with our new spoiler card we had, Berserker, who comes in ready and enraged right away. I smell Aember in Brobnar's future. Ewok, what you got?
So I think what really jumped out at me for Brick Nasty was this is falling in a common slot. So it's giving the fight effect that Brobnar wants to fight, but there is an immediate static gaining Aember. So I love this. The other item that really jumped out at me was the attribute of being giant. There's quite a few Brobnar interactions with giant, but again, being able to fight, gain Aember, that's what Brobnar wants. That's what was desperately needed, and I love seeing it in the common slot.
Yeah, Z, you had something you wanted to add into here too?
Well, he's off posting his event now, but
He's off posting his event.
he was hitting your Berserker combo, right? Because that's lots of extra fights. But then the Goblin gets better because Skirmish is reusable, so you can get some more Aember with those Goblins that otherwise 2-power Skirmish we're not too hot about, but if they make Aember when they do it, now they become really good.
This is true. All of it. Brobnar seems to be on the rise. Like, I want to put a question mark on that because I always think we see these Brobnar cards and they work in theory, but then not in practice. Because I remember us being like super pumped about the pledge and might makes right. And it just never kind of really panned out the way we thought it would. So, Drazcor, what's up?
Well, so I actually do really like Mike Makes Right. I think it being a rare is just in so few decks and makes it challenging. And it needs better other cards to help it out. But Nasty, I really like this card. I think in part, I just love saying Brick Nasty. I love the flavor here. He's the singer for the for the Brobnar Bad Bracken, and I just having seen other members of the band in AOA and seeing I don't know what piano the keyboard player on the box of Brobnar and then not seeing it in Worlds Collide. It makes you wonder a little bit, like, was this one of the cards where they were like, well, you know what, that's too powerful for Worlds Collide Brobnar, was the thought, and they pulled it out, and now GG or somebody at Fantasy Flight was like, you know what, I'm putting it back in. I don't know. What do you guys think?
The idea that they pulled cards out of a set, to me, I don't know. I don't know if FFG had the foresight really to do as such.
Well, we heard a rumor for sure that somebody thought Worlds Collide Brobnar originally was too strong, and they pulled the keyboardist that's on the box out of the set. And I wonder if this was part of the similar thing.
Isn't that on a card?
It's on the box of the display.
Right. No, it's not on an action card too?
No, that art is nowhere. And I don't know if it was just rumor or somebody actually knew something who said that. But I don't know. It makes me wonder these. I really like this power, right? It's like a war song. This guy comes in and he just makes all your Brobnar better. And, in sealed, now suddenly you're worried because this guy's at common. Hey, they've got a big Brobnar board. They just called Brobnar, but if they drew Brick Nasty and just plays him out next turn, they're gonna kill all my guys and get a bunch of Aember, right? That can be a big deal.
Yeah, like you mentioned, you doubt they had the foresight of that, but I can speak on that based on something that we know that seems ridiculously stupid that we know. We know in AOA, they specifically went out of their way to code Mugwump not being able to be in the deck with the card that makes you fight over and over and over and over again. Someone's got to know that card. It's AOA card. So.
I don't remember what the card is called, but I know it's a friendly Brobnar creature gains fight, ready and fight with this creature.
Yes.
Into the fray.
All it does. Into the fray. That.
Thank you, Ketsa.
Mugwump and Into the Fray were specifically coded to not be able to exist in a house in Brobnar together. And honestly, it would have been rare to happen in the first place, and even if it had happened, it's not that insanely good. And they did that. So, like, what they're saying is maybe this was the card that they thought was too good to be in the worst house set combo ever is very possible, right? Because, like, even if that Into the Fray thing happened with Mugwump, it still isn't even as good as Gangernaut, which existed in the set. Like, so I think it is very possible that they did that kind of code algorithm tweaks, which is not something I'm a huge fan of. That's also why I'm super excited about something we're going to talk about in the next block. Less restrictions in the code being able to generate decks would be great, because like there'd be less of potential that could happen.
All right, let's move into the next spoilers. Mr. Ewok, you're up.
I will say I want to see multiple Brick Nasties. 2, 3. I'll fight in
5.
game 3. 5. There you go. All right. So, Z, I know you're back. Do you want to take Disciple since you're back after posting our Reaper of Archons corner? Or do you want? I have it too.
You got this.
All right. So Disciple is one of our new Sanctum token creatures. Human Monk, 3 power, 2 armor. Disciple cannot be used if it has a non-monk neighbor. Interesting. It happens to be our linked rarity, and Batriel of the Gray happens to be Uda's linked to as the rare, and that is a 3 power, 2 armor, reap, ready each disciple. What do you guys think?
That could be gross.
This combination.
That could be gross. I mean, make a bunch of disciples, because we know that. Well, I mean, I guess it really depends where number one, which house disciple. I'm gonna try to say this right because I'm saying it all wrong right now. So we know that the tokens are coming in the house that has the most token interaction, right? So
unless there's one of these rare linkers and that overrides that.
Right. So
I gotta pipe it here. To clarify what he's trying to say, we know that there is a higher likelihood of the token generating house. It is not that definitely the one that has the most tokens.
Thank you.
Okay. There's very different things.
Thank you. I appreciate your help. Because I was trying to say it and the words just were coming out and it didn't really work out. So, but Bartaro, am I saying that right? Probably not.
Nope.
Batariel. All right, so probably your Sanctum house is going to make a whole bunch of creatures, which means it's going to be Disciple next to Disciple next to Disciple next to Disciple. I could see this rule of 6ing real quick because, you make Disciples, the turn previous, which doesn't seem too crazy. Maybe put your Batariel out and then reap, Redium, and reap again. I could see this getting out of control fast if you don't handle her. Also, if there's a lot of extra monks in the set, does have a ton of monks, so you can potentially, and not only that, there's a lot of ready. Well, Sanctum has a lot of ready and fight, correct?
Previously, yes.
Yep.
So it's not going to be a whole lot of ready and reap. So, Ewok.
So I guess what really jumps out at me is when we create our tokens. Now, it can be in the off house, but that should not apply to your rule of 6. You can go ahead and generate them, but it is the action for being able to reap. So if I have, let's say, 10 disciples out, you produced a ton of them, that is where the rule of 6 is going to come in. I can only reap 6 times, or I could fight. Even that, though. So I think that, in my opinion, this card has a little bit of an issue. Sheep, I think you're hitting on it, so why don't you go and take that over?
I think this card is not good. I'm not happy here. This speaks NARP levels of bad.
No. Get off my show. What? No.
It can't be used if it has a non-monk neighbor on either side of it. So there are plenty of cards that manipulate how creatures line up. So then there's going to be a lot of situations where this Disciple may not be used. You're going to have to do a lot of board curation to try to make sure this works. And then when the gray comes down, like you're saying, it's not ready right away. I think this is too, like, what's the other card? The Moorwolves were not very good, and they feel like this to me. And
Dan?
I'm not impressed.
Dan, I need you to apologize to NARP right now.
Sorry, NARP, you're big and dumb.
His feelings are so hurt right now.
All right, Z, tell me I'm stupid.
All right, you're stupid.
Thank
So the value of tokens, ultimately in this game, some of the tokens do some really crazy stuff, which we're about to talk about later. Like, you win this game by normally forging Aember and making keys. So it's going to come down to whether the tokens can reap or not is going to mostly define whether they are good or bad tokens. A couple of them are going to be outside of that general use, like Lord we've already talked about, Scout we've already talked about. They have other intrinsic values other than reaping. So at first, I was kind of annoyed when I read the token. But then, I'm thinking about the math of how it works. I'm thinking about how the game is played. This is actually way better than NARP, because assuming you have a close to or roughly even distribution of token makers, you're making the tokens constantly. So as long as you, or like not constantly, but consistently enough, as long as you realize that you're going to make X direction, whether you choose left or right, all of my tokens are going to be that way. It's only ever going to be one of your tokens, no matter how many they are, that you can't use. And there's like maybe 5 cards in the game, the whole game, that your opponent can play to mess with your battle line. So we don't even like necessarily tech our decks we choose for Archon versus very good cards that are multiple of in the game. 5 cards, and none of those 5 cards are terribly good, by the way. So
yeah, I guess it depends how many other cards in the set actually care about battle line.
Yeah, and we haven't seen any that move anybody yet, and I don't think we will, because it's just not a common mechanic. But at most, only one of your dudes is not able to be used to reap. And going back to the value of being able to reap, you're talking about a token that is 3 power and 2 armor. Like a long time ago, we talked about damage actions in the game and the ability to do 1 versus 2 versus 3 damage. After you get above 3 damage, very few cards are killing the thing without an extra amount of effort that is also like often not easy to replicate turn to turn to turn to turn. So I have the Disciple pretty high up on my actual list of value of tokens. I don't personally like Batarial much at all. Batarial does get answered before you come back to Sanctum. So as far as a linked thing to the tokens, not a big fan of Batarial. The Disciple as a token itself, I think, actually has a much higher token value than most other tokens, because it is almost guaranteed you're going to get extra reaps out of them throughout the game, as long as you're generating a normalized amount of tokens compared to other decks. And that's why she's stupid.
New segment. Say this one isn't going to work. Sticking with mine. My story.
Yeah, we know that Mars adds some ability to move stuff around and things like that. I know whether or not it will have that in this set. Star Alliance had a little. We don't know whether or not that'll be in this set. So that, in one sense, it could be a difference maker, although realistically, how many folks are going to be trying to bring those cards? So maybe it's not functionally going to make a huge difference.
And I'm going to be running decks that only generate tokens. I don't know what y'all are talking about. The only creature on my board will be a token.
Nice.
Let's go.
So what about also, you got to remember battle lines. This will kind of act as a taunt. If I put a Disciple on one side, put a creature I don't want dead in the middle, and then put another creature on the other, put a monk on one side, or Disciple, put a creature I don't want dead on the left of him, and then on the right of him, put another Disciple. You might not want to kill my middle creature, huh? Because now my Disciples are going to run wild. Like Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania, they're going to run wild on you, reaping for 6.
Maybe. Thinking about this, it really does depend on token number of generation, because if your deck is only making a half a dozen tokens throughout a cycle, this card ends up more in the Zixi Harvester line, where I'm just like, okay, I can ignore him because he has a crappy neighbor. So it will really depend. If you can make a ton of Disciples, Z's probably right. You just line them all up to the left and they do their thing. But if you're only making a few, I think Disciple is going to be really bad.
Didn't we see a Sanctum card that like doubles the amount of creature tokens you have out or something as to that?
That's only if your token is Knight.
Oh, only for tokens Knight. Okay. All right, let's keep moving. Is Z taking the next one? Is that how we're working that out?
I got it up.
Okay.
All right. So What I really like for Ghost Galaxy is that they send out these different spoilers to all of our content creators. So the next one comes from our special rare and linked rarity coming from Fire Chicken Reviews. So it's really cool to see all of the different content creators getting something. But this is training costs. So this is an action. It is the rare card from Saurian. And it says you cannot choose to discard training costs from your hand. Play, lose 2 Aember. If you do not, shuffle training costs into your deck. You're like, okay, I got that. What is linked to this? And the linked rarity is our token creature, Bellatoran Warrior. And this is a 5 power, 2 armor, dinosaur soldier token creature. What are your thoughts on this, boys?
I would have liked to see him. I mean, yeah, he's a big body that's probably going to reap at some point. I would have liked to see him have taunt to make. I mean, maybe not.
That made it really good.
Taunt would make him overpowered or not.
Yes.
I think it would. So in theory, you could do sort of the same math that same train of thought that Z was doing on the 3 power 2 armor situation we just talked about. Now this is bigger, 5 power 2 armor. So, but there's a cost of losing 2 Aember to play this, plus the cost of you can't discard it out of your hand. The training cost. So it can be awkward where you feel like you're kind of forced to lose 2 Aember. And in order to not have a permanent chain in your hand. So the question is losing 2 Aember worth the extra 2 power to have this extra big body that doesn't have the constraint of, hey, it's got to be next to a similar traded creature? Are you going to get an extra 2 reaps throughout the game out of the Belgian Warrior versus the Disciple? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Hands down, yes. I think at 5 power 2, we were talking earlier about what can actually remove it. I see 1 training cost as the rare, and I'm going to have multiple tokens. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and get at least 2 reaps. Now, what's interesting is you just position at the very end in comparison to the other tokens. And I think that's the bigger question. But right now, I definitely see training costs. I will lose the 2 Aember because I'm going to get at least 2 reaps out of it while it's in my deck, 1 cycle through.
Just going to raise my hand. Have 2 Aember. Do I still get to play training costs?
It says, play, lose 2. If you do not, shuffle training costs into your deck.
I think if you don't have the Aember, it just goes in the discard.
It says shuffled into your deck. Yeah. So it tells you what to do. So if you have 1 Aember, you lose the Aember and it'll come back to you, right? If you have 0 Aember and you try playing this, it'll get shuffled back into your deck for later. 2 or more, it'll actually come onto the board. So
no, it goes in the discard because it's an action.
It is an action. Yeah.
It falls into do as much as you can, right?
Right.
Lose 2. Yep. I can't do that. If I do, it shuffles back into my deck. So could proper timing... I mean, this card may be reworded. We've seen them rewording cards lately, obviously, for reasons. If I play it and I don't, does it not get shuffled back into my deck? Does it go to my discard? I think this card's going to end up being reworded. I
think it makes sense how it's written.
Yeah, once you actually read it correctly, which I did not the first time, but I think...
And I have no Aember, and I go, training cost, what happens to it? I can't lose 2. I can't shuffle it back in my deck. Does it just go to my discard pile then?
Why can't you shuffle it back? It says lose 2. If you do not, which you did not lose 2, shuffle it into your deck.
I am now ashamed. I now as well read that card incorrectly.
We all started wrong. This card comes down to how many effects are there going to be around that let you bury this by making it a token, by archiving it, whatever. Like there could be effects. I've on our Discord said, this big dinosaur is okay, but he's just kind of okay to me because he still just dies to any mass board clear. Right? He can be 100 power, he can be 2 power. Well, no. Once you get over 3, once you're 4 to 10 power, it kind of becomes like gateway kills everything. And I don't get too excited about it, but I was thinking about it again. 5/2 is pretty darn sticky. Like that, it's got to be a full on board wipe, and most decks come with that we're seeing come with 1 or 2 full board wipe cards. So, like if you put 4 of these down and they have to board wipe and then you get to come back and put 4 more down, it's really powerful. And, other cards like Red Alert needs, you need to be outnumbering them by 7 before they can kill these things. So they are going to be pretty tough.
I think the big question I want to see is what is the C in this new set and what key cheats are there? If we have key cheats in some of these houses, these token creatures are ridiculous, to say the least. If there's no key cheats or very few, or the C is limited, it's going to have an impact. But that's where I'm really curious, because I have not seen a lot of C and I haven't seen a key cheat at all.
Maybe these 80+ SAS decks, because they have 30 C, will become real, because you'll need it.
Take us into Absolve.
All right, I have Absolve, which is a Sanctum action card. Comes with the Aember Pip when you play it, and it says play, heal 1 from each creature. Each creature healed this way captures 1 from its opponent. This is a super blurred card, so we're not 100% sure this is what this is. It's one that was blurred in the back of a Gamefound picture. But so it's kind of like the opposite of a Cleansing Wave, in that you capture instead of gain Amber. But this is 2-sided, right? So if your opponent has a bunch of damaged creatures, they capture. So maybe this is like the opposite of Pandemonium, whatever you want to think about it. It's really finicky, is how it feels to me.
Therefore, it will be.
Yeah, I don't like this one. I see this and I miss both City State Interest and Cleansing Wave, right? Like it's sort of halfway in between, and it doesn't do it well. I'm not excited about this, and we think it's a common, right? So yeah.
Think about 3 copies of this that you have to discard because your opponent has 5 damaged creatures and you're on check.
Yeah, this feels bad. At least that is an Ember Pip, but yeah, even with the Ember Pip, you're gonna not want to play it. Sometimes.
It's gonna have the ability to get captured. Play it for the Pip and then get it captured.
You guys gave me the bad card. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. We do it because we care. What do we got next, Draz?
All right. So we're going back to the Merchant House, the Compact of Ekwidon, for some very, very interesting cards. Now, this token creature is something that I saw people asking for on the AC forum. And it is called Strange Shell. It is a 1-power, 4 armor token creature, a beast. It says Strange Shell cannot fight or reach. Well, that doesn't sound good, but wait. It says action, put Strange Shell into your hand. So, right, we were talking before about how you're taking your cards face up or face down off top of your deck, putting them face down out on the board, and some of those are going to be good, some of them are not. You basically get to choose which ones you get to pull to your hand, and you get to choose, right? It takes 5 damage to kill these bad boys. You get to choose which ones to take at which time. So it's kind of like almost, but a little more killable, a little more removable than your archive, right? Only really a Desania and a couple cards go after your archive. But this will fall to board clears. But I like that part. But wait, there's more, and then I'll let these guys talk. So this is, we think, a linked rarity back to Mollusk Collar. Ekwidon dude with like a weird underwater pipe situation. Flute pipe situation he's blowing on. So he is a 4-power, 4 armor creature, and it says Reap. For the remainder of the turn, each friendly Strange Shell gets +3 power, which is going to make it a 4 power, right, and 4 armor, and loses all abilities. So it's going to turn these guys into fighters, right? 4 power, 4 armor. It can fight down your opponent's 4 and below to their good stuff.
Draskar.
Or Reap.
It's going to turn them into Reapers.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
Like when do you fight over Reap unless you have to kill
the witch?
Well, we know about the witch, right? Got to kill, must kill witches must die.
Mm-hmm. And you get to choice.
When you have 3 bricks in play, that's the answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You just got to say get Rukia, because that is the characteristic that's there. Shout out to Wild Wormhole, who got that preview for the linked rarity. I guess for me, what I really like is when we're talking about our archive, you can get a polluted archive. And here, this strange shell really allows you to hand select the card that you want. Oh, I want my Aember control card. I can do that. Now, the restriction is I have to go in to this house in order to be able to action it. So I do like that contrast, and I like that they put it as you cannot fight or reap. So if we're spamming out a lot of these tokens, this cannot go and fight or reap, but it has such a huge upside with being able to pull the right card at the right time or that next house that you're going into for the next turn. This is a phenomenal token that I'm super excited about.
I agree. I would like to follow up with the last part of this, not to overkill this token too much. Both Draz Ewok pointed out the onboard archiving. What's even greater about that is not only is it that very selective archiving, pulling what you want, it directly combos with 2 cards we've already spoiled for you. So like you're obviously going to be using the action to either push tempo by playing more Merchant House cards that turn, or grabbing one of your cards you need for the following turn, whether it be Aember Control or a board wipe, because game state, you need that card back. It directly combos with the ones you don't care about. Like you're going to get some of these cards you don't want in your cycle, you don't care to return to your hand. You already have Generous Offer at common, which was destroy a friendly creature if you do steal 2. You also already have Mass Buyout as common, destroy each creature. Each player gains an Aember equal to half the number rounded up. Both of those are directly comboing with the versions of the shell cards that are face down that you don't care about, because they are already ways that are killing your tokens, because they're not going to be that incentivized to kill these tokens, because again, 4 armor, that's a lot of effort. So I just wanted to point out the combos with stuff we've already spoiled in this house. And I think the only thing said that I didn't like hearing is that, it's not ever going to be a bad thing to come back to the Merchant House, because who is going to not want to call the best house in the future? So just saying.
I'm just saying, if they'd made this Omni, this would have been the best card in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Should we go into election?
Go for it.
Otherwise known as Glossowani. No? Yeah, that's. I mean, it's a translated card. It's Polish.
Oh.
So, election. Get a Pip of Ember every time you play it. It's a law, for what that matters. Each creature gains Reap. Put a for or against counter on election. If there are 6 for counters on election, destroy each creature. Destroy election and each creature. If there are 6 against counters on election, destroy election. So, I can't, because of token creatures, right? And we're going to have them all over. I want to say this is, if this were previous sets, this would be a very slow board wipe, possibly, like, maybe a turn or 2. And not only that, you have no control over when it goes off. But with the amount of token creatures and the new 48-inch oversized playmat you're going to need, you might be able to play this and use it almost immediately. What do you guys think?
It's a card.
Thanks.
I don't know.
Ewok, you say bad. What's up?
I say bad. When I first read this, I really wanted it to go ahead and say Reap once 6 total counters are out. And so all I would have to get is majority, meaning 4 and 2. So this was my total glitch when I read this card, and it does not say that at all. It says if there are 6 for counters or if there are 6 against. So that means you have to be able to get 6, and that's just too much for this to be able to have an effect. It's too far out there. You're basically not able to do it on a turn that you're playing it, in my opinion, unless you already have control, which frankly, if you have control, you want it to go against, so you're destroying it. And what I need to see is that I can spam out a couple cards, play it quick for the board wipe. So I was disappointed to be able to see this card just as it is. It's not for me.
Yeah, this is like a bad version of the big one.
Yes.
I like the big one.
It does remind me of the big one. But I do think this is mostly bad in that, right, for the most part, you want to use a board wipe when you're behind on the board. Card is, unless you have 6 guys ready to go when you play this one, you're going to be, your opponent has a lot of creatures out. If you got 6 in Saurian ready to reap right then, you're not going to clear right away. you're gonna give your opponent, who will probably have more guys, the ability to say no. So it's mostly not good, but right, one of the cards we had talked about in contention for best card in the set, Scout, right, which or now I think it's called Prospector. It's renamed to Prospector, right? Token creature, 1 power in Ekwidon, destroy, draw card. So if your opponent actually doesn't have enough creatures to put a whole bunch of tokens out here, and you can then go into, you can go to Ekwidon next turn, reap a whole bunch with your Prospectors, blow up your whole board, draw a whole ton of cards, play a whole bunch more stuff. Like, in that scenario, could be good. But I think most of the time...
Could be a scenario where you could reap 6 times, but still be so far behind a board you'd want to blow it up.
Occasionally.
This could be a scenario. It's pretty unlikely.
Scout also, I think, makes this very plausible. I need all those, I have 6, 7 scouts on the board. I'm gonna blow them up, draw 6 cards.
Yeah, that's what
Yep.
Trascore was saying.
Yeah, I agree. There are scenarios where you want to blow up your own board, and I think Scout's like the biggest one. So
I'm gonna hope this is one of the cards that was spoiled by the Polish translation, which, as we understand, is the original FFG designed cards being localized. That maybe they just trash this thing and we never see it.
it was revealed by the Polish community.
What
Go
do you
ahead,
got,
Z.
Z?
To be clear, we're saying GG. If you are changing anything, please change this crap. The card sucks. To be abundantly clear.
Remember,
Seconded.
Richard Garfield said there needed to be bad cards.
I don't know if they need to be at rare and
Rookie.
in a.
Yeah. There are no bad cards. There are just bad players.
Not according to you guys. According to you guys, my NARP is a bad card. And I'm hurt on the inside. Z, what do you got for Adult Swim?
All right, we have Adult Swim coming out of the Fish House. Haven't seen a lot of fish stuff, and some of the stuff we've seen has not been great. So let's see what we get here. It's Adult Swim. It is an action from the Fish House. You get an Aember Pip, which is always good. Play, put each creature with power 3 or lower on top of its owner's deck in a random order. So it's a bounce back, kind of a brain drain bubbles version of Warrior's Refrain from back in the day. So this returns all of their tokens to the back top of their deck in sealed play. Returns, I don't know, a good half of the stuff you see in MM to the top of their deck. It's important that it does not return Infernus to the top of their deck, so that is real good. For that part of that. Returns like all of AOA to the top of their deck?
All of AOA people play.
Yeah, pretty much.
But all of AOA is play effects too, though. That's one of the things we were talking about. This card puts play effect creatures. Like a lot of 2-3 power creatures have play effects. So it puts them back for another round.
Like Helper Bot.
Yes. I do think this is a specific card that we're starting to see that its value is increasing if the token is on house. And I say that because, like, in general, the tokens that we know of, the one token we know of for fish is 2, so it is 3 or less. When you're on the active house, if you're going to return all tokens to the top of your deck in a random order, you get to basically choose which of your tokens are going to go back, kind of like the Strange Shell we just talked about. Because if I have Priest as my token, which is the only one we know, it's 2 power, I can fight all of the ones that I don't want to be drawing in my next turn, then play Adult Swim, and then I know I'm drawing this card, and this card, because I just controlled which of my tokens were going on top of my deck. So I think this is a card that is increasing in value significantly if the token that I'm playing with is the Fish House, especially because it's a common. You're going to get to see a lot of these cards. That's my thoughts.
I will say that I liked the aspect of the humor that's here. It definitely plays off Adult Swim. You can also see as a teacher here, this adult is talking to the kids like, no, it's just for adults over here. Shout out to Time Shapers who had this spoiler. It was really neat to be able to see. I also like that there's no chains that are here. And based on the tokens, I think that is an absolute must. If you had chains on this, that would really hurt it. But to put it back random, you're essentially returning it. And this does get around that big scout feature that you're talking about for the destroyed effect. So this is something that will have some value.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
Go into Yixel, the Iron Captain. Ewok.
Yixel the Iron Captain is a Mars creature, and it's a Martian rebel. 4 power, 1 armor. Play, each friendly rebel creature captures 2 amber.
Yes.
Okay, there is a rebel token, so it meets up with him, and then we notice that Borka Rick is a rebel. This guy is a rebel. The Iranzi whatever rebel. There are a lot of rebels. Apparently, all the Mars guys with red on their armor are going to be rebels, so this could capture a lot. It is on play.
I think it's on play. So I think the main point here is it is going to be able to slow people down. Now, 1 power rebel probably gonna die. We don't know Irix rebel, don't know his power, but I'm assuming it's in that 2 to 3 range, so he's probably gonna die. Borka Rick's a 4. Good shot, he's gonna die. 4 is kind of that 4 and up, we say, might have a chance to survive, but there's a lot of Brobnar ability in this set so far that we've seen, so he probably dies. But it will, if you need the turn, it's gonna slow him down. I think it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I think it's gonna depend what else is in your deck. You can, with this, capture a lot. Right, and if you do have rebels, the rebel token's not great. We said it's only 1 power, but there is, depending if there's like good scaling Ember control of some sort in this set, right? Either Ember destroying or stealing, even, right? We know there's some of those scenarios, right? Especially in Coda, where you capture a whole bunch and then you kill off your own Drumble with the poison wave, and then you do TMTP and you steal 1 million, right? So will this set be able to generate those sorts of combos? Like, even if I could just do 1 damage to a whole bunch of my rebel tokens, right? I could get that off in theory. There's a lot of ifs in what I just said, and you got to get very specific cards. But if it does exist, I'll probably chase around a deck that does it just to do it, even if it's not a great deck, because
So what I like is this is not classic bad Mars. There was a lot of good Mars cards, but required your Mars creatures to be ready to be useful.
Mm-hmm.
And this one doesn't require ready rebels. Like, if this said each friendly ready rebel, this card would be like, put it in the shredder bin straight away. But they didn't make it classic bad Mars, so that's good. That, like you're saying, this could be true, like, scaling Amber level control. The 2/2 Sanctum guy who captures 2 is a good card. Charette is a good card. This is real Amber control, at least for stall.
He at least captures 2 on himself, for what it's worth.
This is true, too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean this guy's, I think he's okay.
Captures 2. So, he's going to be all right. I think his dependency is going to be on how many rebels are in your deck. All right, up next is Sheep. Genetic Blast.
Yeah.
What do you got?
So I got Genetic Blast, which is the other card spoiled by Team Covenant. This is also Mars. It's an action card, has the Amber Pip, and says deal 2 damage to a creature, and each other creature with the same name as that creature. And I really like the text on this one. It says, got him right in the chromosomes. I don't know. I just like that one. So it's 2 damage with 2 damage to everything else with the same name. So this is in line with the Harvest Time, but that's trait based. Like, people call this the Token Destroyer. Although most of the tokens we talked about today just giggle at this card. Doesn't even get through their armor. So this is not quite the Token Destroyer, but 2 damage across the board will clean your own scouts out, kill all of their daughters. I don't know. It's Amber Pip, easy to target with card. I like it. Z, what you got?
Yeah, I think this is one of those cards that's going to be great in sealed. Outside of sealed, it's an Amber Pip, because you're going to have too many varieties in decks. But inside sealed, we've seen, like, if they keep sealed the way it was, like, you get 3 decks and you pick one, right? If we're talking about organized play, inside sealed, we like I did some math earlier. It was only 16 tokens, but out of the 16 tokens, this would have killed 11 of them. That's a really good ratio if you're talking about a sealed one where you had a limited amount of deck choices. You only got the 3 tokens to pick from in the first place. So I really love this in sealed. Outside of sealed, this is not a card I'm going to be looking for in my Mars suite. And there are some Mars cards I really like. I know I didn't really talk on the Ixal Iron Captain side of things, but I think the Martians have a lot of potential as far as generating tokens in general. And just having any kind of Aember control at all is a good thing. And the Captain did that. We're starting to see something like that. So not at that excited about Genetic Blast. It's even at commons. You're going to see it a lot. At least it does 2 damage, so it's like half of a Twin Bolt. So I think that'll be what happens most of the time in just open play. But in sealed, I would love to see it. So like at common, I'm going to want to see Mars in my sealed pool on all 3 of my decks. That would be a happy day because you're going to get multiple Genetic Blasts and you're going to be able to blast the heck out of your opponent.
I think the big thing that we're all missing here, deal 2 damage to a creature in each other creature with the same name as that creature. It doesn't have to be their creature. It can be yours. So if you have a scout, or I'm sorry, now prospector, in your deck and on your battle line, you could kill your own scouts to draw a bucket of cards. A literal bucket. I have 6 scouts. I'll kill all my scouts and draw 6 cards to continue playing my Mars turn. This could add efficiency dependent on what your token is again.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, to go get your key abduction, right?
We don't talk about Bruno. I mean, we don't know if it's in set. So maybe?
Please, GG, if anyone's listening, add key abduction to this set. Please, 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 please.
Now, you got to use this card to damage all your own 3 power tokens so you can come back to our really bad Sanctum card and absolve. Okay, that's your multi-turn crappy combo of the day.
You're fired.
I mean, I think
Lokakar's going to beat me with that one day, and I'm going to be pissed.
dependent on the token, it's going to have the ability to be good. Dependent, obviously, this could get real interesting in sealed play because you have a scout, or I'm sorry, that's going to take some time getting used to. You have a prospector, I have a prospector, all prospectors die. Or, in the case of like, we have the same tokens and we're killing everything. But I'll reap with mine for, 3 first, and then just make sure you're not reaping on your turn with all of yours. I think it could be interesting and fun. I'm not saying it's going to be, it's not going to be like high level, but I think it's going to have its uses.
Do I get to go next now?
Yeah,
The
you
next
can.
one?
Yeah, go ahead, Ozzy. You got
All right.
the good stuff.
Here we go. All right, so we have this thing now called Norbin's Cavern. It is an artifact. It's a location. It says each friendly Amberling gets +3 power and gains skirmish. So we have to ask ourselves, WTF is an Amberling? And don't worry, GR, that stands for freak. What the freak is an Amberling?
Thank you.
All right, so let's look at Amberling. It is a token creature because it is linked to Norbin's Cavern. All of these little Amberlings come from Norbin's Cavern, so after we read this, we're going to all realize wherever Norbin's Cavern is, we just all need to go play KeyForge there because it's real easy. So an Amberling, 1 power token creature. Amberling cannot reap. You may spend Amberling as if it were Amber in your pool. When you destroy it, ignore wards. So basically, it'll go straight from your battle line to your discard pile. In place of each Amber, you use an Amberling to forge with. So we're making tokens, hopefully every turn, because that would be the most fun version of this set. And when you go to forge your key, if you have 3 Amber in pool and 3 Amberlings, you remove 3 Amber from your house card, you remove 3 Amberlings, put them in the discard pile, and you forge a key. Oh my goodness. I could talk a long time about this, but the way KeyForge is played in the current iteration, power cards are Too Much to Protect, Doorstep, Bait and Switch back in the day, things that make your key... Yeah, the new Bait and Switch, things that make your key costs go up. Like, this means that they basically have to kill these little suckers every single turn you make them, or it is going to evade tons of things that we do in our regular competitive KeyForge games to prevent our opponents from forging. Again, I could talk forever, but I'll let some other people give it a go. Sheep, you mentioned something. Look, what else you got here? Like this card is amazing to me.
I'm just hoping they have a Hypno Beam style card that just steals all of your opponent's tokens. Yeah, no, this. You're right. This thing just gets around. It gets around steel right so well, and then there's no downside to the card that you can see. It can't reap. That's a thing.
Well,
but
even certain things you don't talk about as much because you mentioned the steel stuff, like Effervescent Principle is like way less effective here, right? Submersive Principle is less effective here. Shatterstorm, to agree, would be less effective here. The Brobnar Aember Crush would be less effective here because if you just have 6 of these dudes, you're forging a key. Like it's like they have to address the board all the time. Especially if they're all 4 power. Like, if you get the artifact out, all of your Amberlings are 4 power, I really don't know what you do to stop this. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah, how is Norbran's Cavern like a super power up for these things, which were already crazy good, and then like the dinosaurs, which are okay, get this really big negative. Like, again, it's clear somewhere in playtesting they think big power is worth a lot. This card just brings us back to what we were talking about. The Kerwallop meta is coming, folks.
Well, hold on.
First or last.
Pump the brakes, kiddos. Number 1, this thing dies to me farting. Like, it is a 1 power.
How many farts a turn do you got in you?
At least 1. That's all I need.
I mean, I might die to you farting too.
That's his snoring, guys.
That's my snoring, yes. You will die to my snoring. But it is a 1 power. I guess Aember is now a creature too. But it is 1 power, which means anything you put on this thing and Norbran's Cabin is not out becomes a liability at that point. Especially, I mean, depending on where it's coming from.
How is it a liability?
It's just a creature. It counts as Aember.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, you have to fight instead of reap. Like,
correct.
This is just good.
But if it has...
I mean, it's like Aember control because you're going to be fighting the stupid little things.
Creatures are going... How are we going to get Aember on Emberling? Oh, you may spend Emberling as if it were Aember. I see.
It's the Aember.
I see. I understand.
Like, this is kind of similar as if it said, put Emberling into play ready. Emberling can only reap, and then it is destroyed. This Ember cannot be stolen, removed, discarded. I mean, not quite, right? Because you blow it up before, so maybe it's not quite. But, like, you can't capture this thing. It's only 1 power, but like, now they have to deal with it, right? In the normal ways that deck wants to deal with, you have a lot of Ember. They can't use that normal way, so I think it messes with the game plan of your opponent's deck as well as counting as Ember. So it seems real good.
So again, reading the card tells you what the card does. There's been so many cards which say, like, you may spend Ember on creature well, I guess it's just Shrix, and I'm still got a little PTSD from my game against McBluffin. But I read it as you can spend the Ember on Emberling as if it were in your pool.
No, then this card would just be meh.
That's why I was like, this is a liability. Why are you all like goo gagaing over this thing?
No, like the Mars card that says every time you discard a Mars card, you generate a token. I can see turns where you go, I got 5 Mars cards in my hand, but I'd just rather have 5 Amberlings.
Yeah.
Chink, 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 chink.
So yeah, like opposite public service announcement from before. GG, please don't mess with this card.
Mess with it.
It is perfect as it is. I would love to see this in play. And on a separate announcement, please back our Patreon. We need to purchase Hooked on Phonics for some of our cast here.
I know how to read. It's just the interpretation to read that I actually have to actually read instead of, deciding to be like, oh, this is just like a Senator Shrix.
In that case, we need to hire a tutor, so we need a lot more Patreon dollars.
Weird. We have 2 teachers in the show and still have not taught me how to read properly. Thanks, guys. Shows you care.
It shows how deeply in trouble you are.
Yeah. This is why I don't read.
For me, if we're going to change anything, I actually think that it has to be hit on the rare card for Norbran's Cavern, giving the +3 power. Go ahead and keep the skirmish, but that's the piece. Like, I want to actually see Amberlings, but I want to see them at 1, and I just want them at 1. I think getting to 4 actually makes it that much worse. I like the concept, but your C is now your Aember control, guys. So bring C. C is high C, those 20, 30 plus C decks that you were talking about, Sheep, earlier. That's apparently what the meta is.
I prefer my high C with Fruit Punch, not orange.
Crypto Cooler's the best, but Genetic Blast is now a good card with this card running around, huh?
That sure is. It's definitely got better. This is a card where I'm actually going like, did this get play tested properly? Because I don't know. I mean, that would be, it's interesting. We just don't have a feel for how many tokens are really going to generate in the game. We don't know enough to say. We have not seen nearly enough cards in this set. But just thinking about how this plays in other sets, and for the most part, I don't care. It's 1 power. If I can make 4 or 5 of them a turn, I don't care that they're 1 power. That's just a lot of little 1 power creatures to deal with. Like, Babbling Bibliophile is a 1 power creature, and if he lives, he wrecks space. Or Duskwitch, which is, a 1 power creature. And sometimes you can't kill that. So there's going to be times you cannot kill Amberlings. But there's going to be turn 1 games where you're going to generate 6 tokens and they're Amberlings, and your opponent's going to be like, I play some creature.
Awesome.
I'm going to play some creature and be like, all right, I forged my first key and now I play my next turn. Ha-ha!
Well, I think that we're under the hypothesis that we're playing multiple token creatures each turn, and that's why I want to see it as well. But if we are not, if we're only producing, let's say, 3 tokens every 2 or 3 turns, that's different than 1 token. Like, looking at the
100%.
numbers, we have to be able to see what the token generation, but seeing that we can produce a large amount of them from certain cards, being able to see some that produce, that is where this set is going to hinge, in my opinion. But I'm going to say it again, I want to be able to produce token creatures every turn. I think that's what this set needs.
Those are going to become Tark, because you're going to have token creatures per cycle now.
Yes.
Because that is the thing. It's like a cycle through your deck, how many token creatures does it make? If the average is 6, I don't know if it matters. If the average is 12 to 16, like, oh my gosh.
With Ewok, though, like, compare this to, like, MM. Yes, there were MM decks that did not have enhancements that were okay and competitive. Like, there are competitive MM decks that don't have any pips. But they're just not as fun. Like, they just aren't. They're not as exciting. They play more like, Worlds Collide or Vanilla Coda. I mean, that just doesn't have the excitement factor moving forward and seeing what, like, this kind of unique game can bring us. I know I said earlier, literally in this block of our cast today, that I don't like the tweaking with the algorithm too much. But if they're going to tweak something, that is something that I would like to see. Because that alone, like doing that to Dark Tidings, could have fixed a lot of things. If in Dark Tidings, every single house in the deck had 1 card that could raise the tide, all of the average decks would be drastically better and more playable on average. But they did not do that, and you ended up with a lot of decks that don't even raise the tide in the whole 36 card suite, yet need yet have 12 cards that need the tide to be raised to be good. So that was a huge miss there. So I think that same miss would happen here if you end up with decks that don't generate a good amount of tokens. So I would like to see some kind of algorithmic effort to be like, okay, each house can generate at least X amount of tokens in every deck.
So the average for MM on pips was 11 or 12 when we had calculated it. That, I'm going to be honest, if I saw 11 or 12 ways to produce tokens throughout a cycle.
No, it's 11 or 12 per cycle, I think, because some cards will make more than 1 token, just like some cards generated more than 1 enhancement.
Correct, but I'm saying if we had that as an average, that would be a great starting spot. And some decks being more, some decks being less, great. But 11 or 12, honestly, I would like to see if I can go ahead and put that many token creatures out. Seeing a vast majority of them right now.
And that would be super fun. Like, if they edited the algorithm so each house had at least 2 cards in it that created tokens, it would generate the number you're saying right now. based on the cards we've already seen. Like, that is something that I think would be hugely beneficial for just the set in general. It should be more playable because that's the more mechanic behind what's going on with everything we're seeing. But it should, like, more importantly to me, it would just be more fun. Like, you get to see what it's designed to do in a very fun and entertaining way.
That just would really push C hard, I think. Like, C would become even more important, which we kind of already talked about and we already expect. But yeah, if the variation is from generating 2 tokens to 25 tokens and the average ends up in that 6 range, it could be a sad set.
The average is anywhere close to generating only 6 tokens per cycle of 36 cards. That's going to be rough. Like, you're going to get a lot of decks AOA level, or I guess Dark Titans is here, so like Dark Titans level of decks that are just not fun to play.
Yeah. The other thing is arc scores are now not as nearly as true in this set when a percentage of your deck is going to get played face down as a creature and you're never actually going to use it through a cycle.
Yeah, I think the weight of your token is, like, I don't know how DOK would even possibly address this, but the token's actual weight is huge. Like, it is deck defining. Like, this is going to be the card you play the most, period, is our hope, right?
Good luck, Nova.
Yeah. She's like, I'm out. Peace.
Just heard burger token scores coming back.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Like, goodbye and thanks for all the fish.
All right. With that being said, I think we're going to cut part 1 here. Listen and look out for part 2 if you're in the live chat. Stick around. We're going to go over part 2, but part 1 we're going to cut here just due to, I mean, this is going to be a huge episode. We're going to cut it into 2. So it will be out later this week. I will allow, I'll put it out first for patrons like we normally do with content that we kind of, quote unquote hold. So patrons, you'll get a little bit of a head start on it. So if you want to just binge it back to back, that will be possible for you. If you're not a patron, well, look for it later this week. With that being said, Sheep says he needs to go to the John and get some drinks. I think that's true for the rest of us. So I think what we're actually going to do for the people in the live chat, what we're going to do is we're going to cut it here and we'll be back in a few.
Yeah, I'm already Johnning.
All right. Well, that's all.
Oh my goodness.
Well, but
cut it.
when this releases, Gamefound campaign's still live. So if you haven't pledged, go do that. We're going to talk about it in the next segment. So definitely listen and participate in Reaper of Archons, because why not? Why not get your own deck that's named after going ahead and winning and participate in a fun event where you're seeing all of our decks and choosing, hey, what do we have? By the way, thanks for scanning through my decks and finding good decks for me. But no, it's great to be able to see all the excitement that's here behind KeyForge. You guys are doing a great job, so keep it up. Keep checking out those spoilers. It's a phenomenal time to be KeyForge player.
I think we need to keep track of whose deck is used more. So everybody use my decks. Then
that'll be on Z to break down that information, because that's kind of his.
Mm-hmm.
I am not doing that.
Oh God.
I will say that you can just reach out to me with Patreon dollars, and I will, tell you the decks that I've already found in that lower tier, because I'm actually someone who plays the lower decks. So we'll just put that at a higher tier for, our Patreon backers. How about
that? Don't forget to support our $100 Don't Make Fun of X-Ray tier.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's a hidden tier. It's like the secret menu.
Oh.
Yeah. But we'll be back in 5 minutes for everybody in the live chat. Thank you so much. And again, if you're a patron, this will be up pretty much as soon as I get it edited. Both episodes will come up. One will be live free. One will be exclusive to you until the next episode's up. So we'll be back shortly.